Hi, you've clicked onto today's tropical tidbit for Tuesday. Here's Hurricane Alex in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. You can see he's become a little bit better organized overnight. He's got some excellent banding features coming into the center and a nice piece of core convection over here trying to form a CDO, and even hints of an eye wall trying to form here at the end of the loop. There might be a little bit of dry air in this area of the circulation, but I don't really see this being too huge of a problem. I think more of this had to do with Alex being over colder water. If you remember yesterday, I told you that he was probably upwelling in the shallow coastal waters off of the Yucatan over here. And if we look at the ocean heat content, you can see where this cold water was. Not cold, but shallow, and he was able to cool it off and upwell that water pretty easily. And he just now, in the last 5 hours, moved over warmer waters north of 22, latitude 22 north, and you can see that as soon as he did, convection started to blow over the center. And this is what I said yesterday, that in 24 hours from yesterday morning, which is now, you would start to see him strengthening as he moves over this warmer water. And some of this drier air is probably only dry because it came from Alex sitting over the colder water, and there wasn't as much moisture available because there doesn't really seem to be much of a source for this. I think we'll see the center, the core of the circulation start to fill in with more thunderstorms as the day goes on. These bands up here have been just firing lots and lots of strong convection for the last 24 hours nonstop, so the water in here is providing plenty of energy, and you can see this strengthen rather steadily today. The recon went in a few hours ago and found a pressure of 983 millibars, and this is actually rather incredible that we're seeing a pressure that low, and yet Alex is still a tropical storm. The recon plane has not yet found evidence of hurricane force winds. Flight level are only up to about 70 knots, and that only translates to a 65 to 70 mile per hour tropical storm. And this is probably related to two things. One is the massive size of Alex, and this is a big storm. This is a really big storm. He's got tropical storm force winds all the way out to 150 miles from the center, but his circulation is even larger than that, and that's probably one reason the pressures are low, because the pressure field is spread out. The other reason may be that overall pressures across the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean are below normal right now, and that makes the pressure gradient weaker between the center of the storm and its surrounding environment, and that just goes to show the favorable pattern of lower pressures we have over the tropical Atlantic this year. I do fully expect Alex to become a hurricane and to get up to a Category 2 before landfall. Again, it just now moved over these warmer waters over here, and with all this warm water in the way, I expect it to undergo fairly steady strengthening up until landfall over here. Let's look at the big picture. This is the water vapor. The main features to look at here are this ridge over the Rockies. Sorry, I know my cursor's pink and the border's pink too, but here's the trough coming into the east. You can see this is starting to lift out over here, and this ridge is starting to come across into the Great Plains, and this is eventually going to start forcing Alex to the west over here. Heights have been increasing in this area over here according to soundings this morning, and in fact, if we look at the visible again, the last few frames are gone, but this is starting to move a little bit more west-northwest in recent frames, and that is confirmed by the last 3 recon vortex messages, which showed the center moving more in a west-northwesterly direction, already starting to curve left. Now what's interesting over here is that the HWRF actually shows a similar left turn to this. If you go out here, you can see that it actually turns left, and even a little bit west-southwest over here, but then it turns it back north and takes it pretty close to the Texas-Mexico border, and it's going to be interesting to see if Alex tries to sneak a little bit farther north towards the southern periphery of the ridge. You notice it's way up over here over Wyoming, Colorado, and Nebraska, even South Dakota. So it's really far north, and there is room for Alex to try to sneak pretty close to the border over here as it comes in. If we look at the models this morning, you can see that the consensus has really gotten better over the last day or so, and there's still some room for Alex to try to sneak a little north of this, and get into the Brownsville area or sneak up into Baffin Bay over here, like the no gaps is showing. But when you get the model consensus this well consolidated 36 hours before landfall, it's probably a good bet that they're nailing it and starting to really hone in on things. The model consensus is actually right on top of my original track that I had on Saturday, which had this coming into Mexico right at 25 north, and that's probably the best track to stick to right now. With the models like this, it's going to be easy to pin this down. It's probably going to be anywhere from Brownsville down to perhaps 24 north on the Mexican coastline if Alex continues to turn left. But there's room for this to, it starts curving west, but there is room for it to try to sneak like that and start curving a little bit north before landfall and slow down, because that ridge is really far north. So it has room to sneak up a little closer to the southern periphery over here, but we'll have to see how it goes. Right now it's looking a little bit south of the border, likely for landfall. Perhaps a little closer to the border if it stays on the northern edge of the model consensus, but we'll have to see how it goes. At any rate, the circulation again is massive. So if you're over here south of Baffin Bay, you're going to get nailed with really strong winds and heavy rain, and people should be watching this. Hurricane warnings are up all the way to Baffin Bay, I believe. So people in South Texas, be ready for this storm. The northern side is really bad. The winds are not so bad on the southern side right now, but the northern side is where we're getting close to hurricane force winds, and this is going to be a nasty storm upon landfall. Certainly one of the nastiest you'll ever see in this area for June. So I hope people are ready for this. One other thing I would like to look at before we go is if we start to look out ahead of Alex here and start to watch for possible other developments. This is the trough that's going to be moving out. This ridge is what drives Alex west into the coast here. You watch this trough, what it starts to do. This is 96 hours GFS ensembles. We go out to day 6 and this trough starts to lift out, but you notice that it's hanging back as a piece starts to split, and by the time you get to 180 hours, day 7 over here, the ridge builds over the top, and this gets split away and left behind. And this is a trouble pattern. When you have the ridge building over a trough split near Florida, you got to really watch for mischief down there. So we may have some mischief going on in this region in several days. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Some models are forecasting the development of a low. The situation which they have it developing in seems rather odd to me, but now that I'm seeing this pattern over here, I wouldn't be surprised to see something try to spin up, but probably not in the way that the models are doing it. They have it sort of spinning off from a piece of energy from Alex's eastern circulation, and it looks weird, but this pattern is a mischievous one, so we'll have to watch that. I apologize for my disorganized presentation this morning. I'm really tired. I've had less than 4 hours of sleep every night this week for the last 8 days, so I'm rather out of it today, but thank you for bearing with me. Thanks for watching. I'll have another update tomorrow.